young narrative. Young, dumb American, arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting the fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Try to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, cannot describe it. Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. Hit every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face, and I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where
the type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm liking to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm hot like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old, out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yo, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant. Tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retro fit. I guess I'll lit, I guess I'll bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday. You know what that means. Sports nonsense and whiskey time. Hang with the fellas. Pinky, how you doing, my guy?
Doing better now, my friend. It's a busy Tuesday, so happy to be hanging with you. I'm going to talk some smack and have a good time.
All right, I like it. Right off the start, there we go.
Robert's not here to police me. He's not here to tell me to be a good boy.
Hey, I wanna wish Robert a happy birthday. Our other cohort is off celebrating with family, and you know how we feel about those moments. So he has things that are more important, and we have no problems with that. So we wish him a happy birthday, and hope he has a great evening. And if he pops in later, great.
Here's 28. God, I'm so old. I'm 16 years older.
We have a couple years on him. That is the truth of the matter.
I mean, my oldest is 22. Like, they could be brothers.
There's possibilities there.
Cheers to you, Robert. Hopefully you're having a good time. And if you pop in later, all good, man. If not, hopefully you had a good time. That's what it's all about.
Exactly. Exactly.
Man. Did you have a good 4th?
Yeah, we had a good day. It didn't feel like the 4th though, because we didn't do any 4thy things. My grill is busted. Cannot get it to light. So that's fun to learn on a day when you plan on barbecuing a bunch of stuff. Yeah. And then we didn't go to the parade up in Monument like we normally would. We didn't go to any fireworks shows this year, so
well, I know Palmer Lake didn't do fireworks.
We went hiking down at Bear Creek Nature Center and hiked through the woods and stuff. So the kids love that. But, didn't do anything really 4thy per se. So while it felt like a day off, it didn't feel like the 4th of July. So my wife and I both said that at the end of the day. And we're like, yeah, next year we're going to have to do something, whether it's starting our own new tradition or making sure we do go to the parade. Like, we did the first couple years of.
Sounds like barbecue at the Cercles. Let's go.
We might have to just do that next year. We'll see what happens. So, yeah, it was a good day off, but didn't feel like the 4th of July.
We have a friend in our friend group that previously it just depends on what's happening, but for holidays they'll usually put together a shindig, and for July 4th, they go all out, decorations. They've got the watermelon vodka punch and They've got, burgers, hot dogs, fireworks, everything for the kids. Like, just they do it up right. And of course, they were on vacation visiting other family for the 4th, so that wasn't available this year. But they typically do a great job. That's what I imagine. Like, that's getting together with friends, relaxing.
Yeah, everybody
like,
we know that we usually celebrate the 4th with, and our standard events that occur. Everybody's actually out of town this year, so it's kind of one of those years where we're like, oh, we'll just stay home, and then we were like, that was a bad idea. So
right.
Lesson learned.
Well, I got lucky enough that I won tickets at work to the Colorado Springs Switchbacks, which is our local soccer team, and they play in a really cool little stadium downtown. And
they got a nice.
I've never been to a soccer game.
Okay.
So this was a really cool opportunity to go. My daughter has a friend. She's been hanging out in the neighborhood maybe a month or two. He likes soccer. He was riding around with a Messi jersey the other day. She was talking about Ronaldo before the game, and I was just like, what? Why are you talking about Ronaldo? And my friend Courtney was with us, and she's a big, huge soccer fan. She plays soccer. She watches all soccer. She kept asking Courtney questions. It was the cutest thing. But one of the coolest things is USAA, who I work for. They got us onto the field to hold the flag before the game.
Nice.
And a lot of pressure when you're holding the flag. A lot of eyes on you. But what a cool experience. I just kind of looked around, and you just see everybody just kind of stopping what they're doing for a moment. And you could just see that everybody's just kind of thinking about America, our country, our loved ones, our military that's out there for us every day. Like, all those thoughts go through your mind. I even shed a tear at one point. And it's just, it was a very cool moment to just share with my wife, my daughter, and my bestie at work, Courtney. It was great. Then the soccer was actually enjoyable. We were like 3 rows from the field. And so we had like a really close view.
Get a different feel for the pace of play, don't you?
Well, you could. Well, when the ball's coming at you, you're going to pay more attention, because it's always, the Switchbacks did a great job of putting a lot of pressure on the goalie, and they were coming near us a lot. The cool thing about being at that angle and being that close is you could see the angles. You could see what they were trying to do. And you could see, like, I know at this level, they don't quite have that guy that just can take the ball and move it. And that's what you can move it.
That guy usually gets moved up to the next level pretty quick.
Right. you can move it around so much before it's like, okay, somebody's got to make a move and go towards the goal, and then that should open something else up. And that's eventually kind of what happened. Switchbacks had multiple scoring opportunities. They did have it got real chippy at one point, and like, one of their guys pushed our guy. Our guy came back over, pushed the guy, got the ball, and then ended up scoring. And the ref immediately was like, no goal, because of the push, I guess. Multiple yellow cards at that moment. Like, the bench got a yellow card. Like, it was like everybody was losing their mind. And then literally, right before, like, I'm talking like the 89th minute, the Switchbacks score a beautiful goal right where we're at. The whole crowd's going crazy and nuts and just having a good time. And it was fun, man. For my first live soccer game experience, that was very cool. Enjoyed it. My daughter, Harmony, she doesn't sit still for anything. Like, we're in the movie theater and she doesn't sit still. We're like, if there's something, she's like, Dad, will you watch this movie with me? Sure. 5 minutes in, she's already up out of her seat. Like, she sat through the whole soccer game. except for the one time she goes to the bathroom.
Sounds
sat
like
through
you
the
might
whole
want to
thing.
get her into a new sport.
So I'm gonna try to show her some soccer this weekend and see if she'll sit down and watch it, because she cheered it, she loved it, it was fun. I was totally blown away and shocked. And then after the game, got to lay on the field, fireworks like right over us.
Nice.
Now, when I say right over us, I am not joking. They are literally right over us. It's beautiful, it's loud, it's bright, and then all of a sudden, pieces of firework hit you in the face, and you're like you're rubbing firework out of your eye. That's how close we were. So, lesson learned.
Sounds like the wind might have blown a different direction than what they had originally anticipated.
Maybe, I don't know, man, but it was like literally like falling on me. It was
fun.
It was cool though. It was fun.
Excellent. Well, glad you got to experience that, and glad it was enjoyable. You saw a win. Those are all good things.
A win, soccer, and fireworks, man. So it was a great day. Great day.
Perfect.
Other nonsense. Robert's our nonsense guy now. He's the one that's like, yeah, I watched this, I watched that, I watched this. I'm ready for that. He's not here.
Yeah, no. There's things coming. Oh, one thing we should talk about that'll happen before the next broadcast. You like that? Our next show, our next episode, our next pod. Let me pull this up again here. The Home Run Derby will be on Monday.
Oh, okay. Is Judge and Ohtani in it?
No. So Ohtani's taking it off because he's still technically rehabbing from Tommy John, even though he's having an insane year at the plate.
Yeah, doesn't he have like 32?
No, he's not there yet. Judge
I think he is.
No, Ohtani's not.
All right, well, I'm going to double check you.
You go right ahead. I think Ohtani's at like 21. Last I checked.
He's at 28.
Ohtani's at 28 now?
He's at 28.
What's Judge at? 34?
32.
32. Okay. So Judge is at 32, Ohtani's at 28. But he's rehabbing. So he's not participating. Judge is
I could give Ohtani a pass, because it takes a lot out of you to be jacking up those homers in the game. So I'll give him a pass, but Judge gets no pass.
Well, Judge is not participating. The Polar Bear, Pete Alonso, former champion, trying to get his title back. He will be participating, so that'll be fun. Young up-and-comer, I think this is his second year, maybe his third year, Gunnar Henderson, shortstop with the Baltimore Orioles, will be participating, and he's having a possible MVP year, but he's going against Judge, who's having an insane year. So while he's probably the second in the votes right now, he's still having an insane year. So that'll be fun. He's got 20-something home runs, so he should be fun to watch. Then you've got Alex Bohm and Bobby Witt Jr., two guys who aren't really known for.
I like Bobby Witt.
Good player. I'm not saying they're not good players. Just saying they're not really known for hitting the long ball per se. So it'll be interesting to see how they do in the home run derby. Usually those guys don't fare well in this competition.
Well, they typically tire out, and they're not, they don't have the strength and girth to just literally jack them. So,
well, their swing isn't necessarily such that it invites home runs. And so when guys aren't throwing 100 miles an hour and you're getting 70 and you have to throw in more of the power than what the ball delivers with your bat speed, it changes things a little bit. So those two are extreme dark horses. I wouldn't say that they are going to provide anything special, but you never know. You never know. The home run derby is really fun to watch, and guys come out of nowhere some years, so possibly. And then you've got Marcell Ozuna. Marcell Ozuna is interesting because he's not really a home run hitter, but he kind of hits enough home runs to be like, if nobody else wants to do this, I'll do it kind of thing.
I think he jacked up 30 last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's not like
over the
necessarily a
season.
home run hitter in today's day and age. Back in the day that would have been good. Now it's kind of like, okay, you're yes and no. So he's interesting. Keep an eye on him. And then the last guy who just got announced today is Jose Ramirez with Cleveland, who can jack some bombs when he wants to.
Okay.
So him and Alonso obviously will be favorites. With Alonso, I think, leading the pack, given his former champion status and the fact that he can just destroy a baseball.
Do they still do a celebrity home run derby too? Is that still a thing?
They do the celebrity softball game.
Okay. I thought they used to do a celebrity home run derby as
Can't
well.
say I would remember that.
But I could just be talking out my ass. That's typical for me. If they don't, they should do that.
Sometimes.
That sounds enjoyable. We get
Maintaining a
JJ
home run
Watt.
starter,
Yeah, we get JJ Watt. We can get LeBron.
It's not easy. It's not that easy to hit the baseball out of the field, my guy. I don't think it'd be as fun to watch as you think it would. So those are the guys participating on Monday. All-Star game is Tuesday. I think baseball still has the only All-Star game worth viewing, where guys actually participate and play and care about it. So I do. This is about the time of year where I start paying attention to baseball. Is All-Star weekend going forward? So to me, I think it's enjoyable. It's the only All-Star game that is enjoyable.
I think baseball in general, though, is one of the sports that you could still play pretty tough and hard, and your risk of injury is pretty low. It can happen, but it's still low compared to, basketball. I think basketball would be next. Hockey,
yeah, basketball doesn't really have an
football.
excuse. Hockey could maybe have an argument, but if that's the case,
you're talking if they were really going after it.
Kind of fun.
They're going after it and hitting each other and smashing into boards and all of that. It's hockey in general is a pretty violent sport, so that's a tough
hockey
one.
is a little tough, and football just doesn't make sense because somebody could easily get injured playing that game if they were truly playing, and that's
if they're playing hard. And that's typically when you play football. When you play tackle football, you have to play hard, or you are really
if you go 70%,
yourself up
that's
for
usually
energy.
when you get injured. Yep. Cheers, my guy. Exactly.
Learn that coaching the little guys, man. You get those little guys going, practicing hard and playing hard in a game. The injuries were very limited, and they bounce back pretty quick, right? That's because they're kids. They bounce back pretty quick, but. Let me. I do have one nonsense thing I wanted to shout out real quick. I've been checking out season 2 of King of Collectibles on Netflix. If you like sports collectibles, pop culture collectibles, Pokemon cards, Marvel, comic books, all that, you got to watch it. It's actually produced by Omaha Productions. Peyton Manning is an executive producer of the show. He made an appearance in season 1. Eli's made an appearance in season 2. I tell you, man, the stuff that they get is nuts. One guy was getting a guy to sell. He actually got the Wimby Superfractor. And it was the first ever Wimby Superfractor, 1 of 1, Wimby's first autograph, and on top of it, on a card, and on top of it, he actually put first ever on the card that he signed. And this guy from Germany ended up getting it, and he's selling it. He was selling it. They talked him into selling it, it's so hot right now and all this, and they got him to sell it for $50,000. And the guy's a father of 3 or 4 kids, so I get that. That would be very tempting. But I was just sitting here going, with the hype that Wimby has and what we project he's going to do, that's easily a $2-3 million card in 3, 4, 5 years.
No, it would take longer than that. That's like retirement. That's like a whole career
Oh
status to
man,
jump that.
no man. I mean, um, God, Mahomes just had a rookie card go for like 4 or 5 million, and it's the
Well,
same
Mahomes
deal.
is,
It's a 1-on-1. I know, but
yeah, but he's got 3 Super Bowls and is in the GOAT conversation right now.
right. I mean,
You
traditionally
know,
though,
that's
there in most card situations in all sports, the limited cards, but from the elite players is what makes the most money. And Wemby is literally on the like Shaq, LeBron, Wemby. He's on that track. Now again, he's got to reach those heights. The
that's what I'm saying.
expectations are
Like the
high.
car doesn't jump to those heights if he doesn't win MVP, if he doesn't win a championship. Those things don't happen. So that's why I mean, like, there's a long way to go between 50 grand now and a couple million. You know,
I mean, that's definitely a debate worth having. I would have held the card for a few years. I think that selling it now was you're losing more in the long run selling it now. You're getting a quick gain now.
I know a couple people that sell cards for we'll call it a hobby, if you will. But they know what they're doing when it comes to collecting. I'll see if I can get one of them to come talk with us.
I found it interesting because again, there's definitely a right moment to sell.
Yeah, and that's always the kicker for sure. Is when is that moment?
There's and there's an example of that actually on almost on the same episode. There's a guy who's got this 2017 Marvel green prism set, and it's all the Spider-Man, Hulk, Wolverine. There's 50 cards. There's only 10 of each one of these cards made. This guy had all 50, and they were all graded too. It was a complete set. The guy had an offer of 1.2 million, and these are two. It was 2017. In 2021, he had an offer for 1.2 million.
Ooh.
Didn't take it.
What are they worth now? Like 10, maybe? Nothing.
300, 400,000, maybe 5. I mean, Spider-Man by himself can go by for like 100,000. Like he's like the hardest one to get.
So he just holds on to him, and they could go back up eventually. But
he's gonna have. They're trying to sell it for him right now, and they're having, as part of the season, they're having some difficulty getting any value of like, maybe you should hold on to these for a while. In that case, like you probably shouldn't sell these at this moment. The value went down.
Game. Yeah, it's tough.
And that probably has a little bit to do with during COVID, people were looking for things to get into and do, and then as we got out of COVID, and then also Marvel movies haven't done as well lately. The hype's not quite there like it was, so that probably has a little bit to do with it as well. But that's, again, comes back to one thing about that card collector business. You got to sell at the right time, and it's hard to know when that time is.
Yes, it is. That's why it's smarter to set, I'll sell when it's X times what I bought it for. And then you're always making a profit regardless of situation, rather than trying to be greedy and hold out for the next big thing. So unless you're dealing with, the original Honus Wagner card or, a Hank Aaron rookie or something crazy like that, like that.
1952.
Yeah,
Mickey Mantle rookie.
You don't know if it's going up. Those are something that will for always hold their value. Michael Jordan rookie cards, LeBron James rookie cards, those will hold value for the most part, unless they are some kind of crazy one like you're talking about, green prism. Sometimes those can, just because they're a rarity, they can be a hot commodity, and when that hotness wears off, then it could never return to value because it is.
I mean, the value will go back up because there's only 10 of each one of the cards made.
But sometimes that type of rarity hurts it because it's a one-off collect. And so you're looking for that one specific collector that will want it rather than a market that will want it. That's why those rare sets sometimes don't hold value as well, and you should sell them as it's going up rather than once it starts coming down. Kind of like Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa home run balls in '99. If you held on to one of those and were hoping you were going to sell it when they go into the Hall of Fame, you lost thousands of percentage points on the value of that commodity.
That brings up a cool story on the show. The owner of the company, Golden, he's a friend of Barry Bonds. He's known Barry Bonds for like 35 years. And he goes out to Barry Bonds' his home, and he's trying to negotiate Barry Bonds selling some items at auction and everything. And he said, I got a gift for you. And he gives him this ball. It's got Babe Ruth's signature on it, Hank Aaron's signature. He's like, now we just need your signature on it. And Barry negotiates, hey, well, because it was for this guy's son. And he was like, well, Barry was like, well, I want one for my son. So I'll sign it, but then you got to get me the same ball, a Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron signed ball. And Barry was really cool. I thought this was so cool. So the guy was just concerned about getting Barry on it. Barry was like, well, my signature goes here. It looks like Albert Pujols goes here. He was like, we need to get Albert on this side of the ball because Albert's got over 700, part of the 700 club.
Yeah.
And I was like, he didn't have to bring that up. The guy didn't mention Albert. Barry Bonds mentioned Albert. I thought that was cool. So
that is awesome. Yeah, that is awesome.
And I thought it was fun because it showed you don't get this. Barry's really been kind of reclusive. You don't really see him a lot since he left baseball. And it was good just to see him, laugh, smile, talk a little bit. It was cool. So, if you're a sports fanatic, a nerd, there's a lot of cool stuff that they sell and bring up. It's a cool watch. It's just something easy that you can watch. I think it's fun. And of course, a lot of it's dramatized, right? Because they got to make it, drama for a show. But
what's it called again, and where's it at?
It's King of Collectibles on Netflix.
Okay. All right. Have to look into that.
It's good little show to watch. And again, if you watch one episode and then, you get busy, you come back in 2 weeks, right? It's not like you're not going to miss anything.
Right.
It's pretty easy to just pick right back up. Before we jump into our main topic of the night, I do want to give a shout out to Old Fashioned Football. They are a really cool podcast that we became fast friends because, we drink whiskey while we talk all sports. They drink old fashions while they talk football, and they actually go and visit distilleries, and they will actually discuss different whiskeys and bourbons on the show. They do a lot of fantasy and a lot of betting discussions. And we are lucky enough to join them to talk about the AFC West. So we're going to be on the show Thursday. It's 6:30 Central Time, 5:30 our time. And that should be fun.
Yes. Fantasy-wise,
I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to draft really anybody in the AFC West for fantasy, but we'll talk about it.
There's a couple sleepers out there that I've got my eye on for this upcoming season.
I would say there's some value picks, but they do talk a lot about draft position, and they talk a lot about auction value. So I think there's some guys like that you could probably get at value because, you're going to have to blow $50 on Christian McCaffrey or whatever it is. Or could you
probably like 65, 70 if I had to guess. I guess it depends on
whatever it is.
Your limits are, yeah.
Right. Whatever the amounts are. But you're going to blow your whole load on that one player where again, the idea is can you find value and save money on other players,
outside of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, obviously.
With Kelce, I mean, he still had an okay year, but it was a down year.
He'll bounce back.
The thinking could be, I think he'll still be pretty good when he's playing, but I think injuries last year, he got nicked up quite a bit. And again, he's no spring chicken anymore. He's 35. And those injuries are going to start to take longer to recover. from the injury. So
I agree, but I do think after winning the Super Bowl again, back to back, I think it rejuvenated him a little bit to take care of that so that he is more dynamic, if you will, during the season again. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I agree with you. The history would tell us that will be more prevalent going forward than it won't.
What would you say? I would say Kelsey's overvalued at this moment from what you're going to get.
Can't say I've looked very heavy at locations. I'm guessing he's probably still second round value, maybe third. I don't believe, depending on your league, I don't believe in taking tight ends that early. So that's a whole nother conversation.
You do believe in the zero tight end rule, and that's not a bad rule. So I can't fault you on that one. I won't go
zero tight end, but I feel like I've found enough sleepers that I trust the process, if you will. And I've won enough, I think, a handful of times here and there. So,
okay, champ, we get it.
But we'll talk. That'll be fun on Thursday. It'll be fun.
I'm excited. They're a good group of the husband and wife, and they just it's a good show. I enjoy it.
Shout out Old Fashioned Football.
Old Fashioned Football on YouTube. All right. So ready for some we talked football earlier a little bit. We're gonna talk football. I did love that post you gave about the actual meaning of soccer. That was hilarious.
I learned that some years back, and I have always thought it's hilarious that Americans get blamed when the Brits started it as a shortening of, because they quick story, ladies and gentlemen, audience, listen. So way back when, there were so many different leagues and stuff.
Like in the 1800s.
Yeah. There's so many different leagues and stuff that they started calling it association football. And then it just started being called association. And then they shortened it again to ASOC. And then there was a trend back then, apparently, where they put an ER, an on the end of everything. So it was a soccer. And then it just got shortened to soccer. Well, that got brought over stateside with the game. So they're playing soccer. We're playing soccer over here in the States. And then at some point, they decided that they just weren't going to call it that anymore and go back to calling it football. And the memo never came stateside. So we just kept calling it soccer because we already had American football. And it's not our fault. That's the moral of the story here. It is not our fault. We took it from a very well-known, prestigious, if you will, source that gave us that information. And we thought that was what we needed to be doing at the time. And we were misled. And now it is what it is. So,
damn
world,
Brits.
just, if you're going to blame anybody, blame the Brits, okay? It's not us. Forgive us. It is what we're going to call it from now on because, we have American football. So, we're not going to try to, confuse the two all the time and say, what? World football and American football? We're not doing that.
You got to say
call it soccer.
Football.
Yeah, so we're not doing that either.
Football. Yeah. And then it's football. Football.
Yeah, because then
it can be done.
Yeah. Okay. But then the Russians come over and you don't know which one are they talking about.
That's true.
So,
but again, Americans will normally call it soccer, but
look, here's the thing.
I do like to say football with an accent.
If American football continues to gain in popularity and becomes a world sport somehow after we're dead and gone, maybe soccer will come back into the verbiage that people can use with their speaking. Who knows? Maybe one day. Just saying, it's not on us. That's the point. Again, the point of the whole story, the moral of this entire story is it's not us. We didn't create it. It's not America's fault that we use it even. So it's just what we thought we were supposed to be doing. That's
not the cheeky Americans. It's just you guys did it, and we never found out that you changed it back.
Yeah, just presenting facts, guys. And if you don't believe us, by all means, go look it up yourselves. But we have no problem with that. Check it, fact check it. But that's the story I heard. That's how it goes now.
It was that was a very good video. I got a big kick out of that, Caleb, and I learned something.
Hey,
And anytime you can teach Pinky something, that's a good day. Oh, I'm kind of hard headed, and it's tough for me to learn things. So
I thought it was a well concise explanation, so it felt like
yes,
it was a good time to
she
throw it
did
out.
well. She did well. All right, NFC South. As we've gone through our divisions, we talked about the AFC North last week. Again, no surprise there. But the NFC South, I do feel like is almost everyone but Carolina's division to win.
Oh,
I do feel like the other three teams have a chance. Now, again, I do have what I feel like is the team, but I just think Carolina's the team that probably doesn't have a chance. Anything can happen, but I am not expecting big things from the Panthers. I kind of see the Panthers still having a top 5 pick next year.
I would not doubt that. What I'm hoping to see is a more competitive team. I
No.
would like to think they're more competent, but I also just saw a story in the last couple of days where David Tepper's wife was in the draft room giving advice. So, if his advice has been any indication of what the Tepper family provides during the draft festivities, that probably didn't go over well with the incoming staff any more so than it did with the outgoing staffs. So I like what they've done.
So,
but I'm still a little unsure of if they're going to be able to put it together due to influences that shouldn't be there.
We'll talk a little bit about what they've done, but let me since we brought it up, if they get the number 1 pick and you can take Carson Beck, or Shedeur Sanders, are you doing it?
I'm not going to say yes.
If you see similar play / results from Bryce Young as you did last season,
if it shows the same thing, yeah, I'm moving on. And it'd be Shedeur Sanders for me, no questions, easy. Let's go forward. I could almost see, though, behind the scenes, if that were the case, Dion and the boy going, no. Like John Elway style. Eli Manning style. Legitimately, like, you pick us and I'm not coming. That's not happening. We're not doing this.
I've got another year of eligibility. We're good.
So,
I don't know if you can do that.
If he doesn't hire an agent, I do believe he can. And even
they all have agents now with NIL.
But that's my thing. He's probably got like a publicist or something that he doesn't need to hire an agent until after the draft. And if they understand that and know that, with his dad knowing the game as well as he does, and they do use that leverage, they can be a little bit more select about who takes them, and him, I should say. So maybe I should say them. But I've said before, I'm high on Shedeur. I think he is definitely the best quarterback in college this upcoming season, regardless of what happens during the course of the season in Colorado's record. I am a little surprised Carson Beck is getting as much run as he is right now, to be perfectly honest.
He really is.
I know.
He's the number 1 on most people's boards at the moment.
Yes, he absolutely is. And people have found ways to just poke holes in Shedeur's game, which, keep doing it. If he falls, somebody's going to get really lucky, because I think that dude can ball.
I mean,
And
I would look at it
I'm not a
as
Colorado fan. I'm not trying to pump up the Sanders family or anything like that. I watched him since he was a freshman at Jackson State and have been thoroughly impressed with the fact that I believe he can play.
You can like a player and you can judge a player by what he does and not like the team he plays for. So that is very it's not hard. It's not easy for some folks to to really split that. But I think there's a lot of haters out there that maybe they don't like Dion. They don't like the Flash. They don't like what he does. They don't like what he says. And so then they don't like Shador. But I feel like those are the people not watching. Like, they didn't watch Shador. They didn't pay attention.
You're watching and saying that, you're just a pure hater. Like, to me, and I've heard, analysts and scouts and stuff break it down, and they've said they're not as high on him. And I'm like, you're trying to find reasons. Like, that's what you're doing at this point.
I would say then I think we both agree if we were the Panthers, we had the number 1 pick again, which would now be the second year in a row, we would take Shador.
Well, unfortunately, you didn't have it last year because you decided to make decisions to get Bryce Young.
They earned the number 1 pick, but they gave it to Chicago.
So if they earn it, they actually get to use it next year. And I would take Shador. The problem, again, is I think there are factors behind the scenes that they could say, we're not playing for David Tepper. Like, I could easily see that based on the dysfunction that is rumored to be within that organization.
And I think he had kind of an offhand approach for his first couple years owning the team. And then I think he got impatient. And now he's basically put too much input
He's
into the football
micromanaging
operations.
everything. Dude, he's going to restaurants that are putting messages on their marquee about him just leaving the draft alone. And he's going to the restaurants to tell him to take it down. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, I'd be like, hey, if you want me to take it down, you can buy it. You can buy the restaurant. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm not taking it down either. But the owners shouldn't be. It's that. What is the saying? Lions have no need for the words of the sheep or something like that. Like, at that point, you don't need to be listening. Run the team. Just run it the way you see fit and win, and then everybody shuts up.
But an owner should be like, he should literally just hire people he trusts to do the jobs he hired them for. And if it was some crazy scenario where they actually had a good team, one of their top players, and the GM's like, I think I'm going to trade this guy. I think, again, at that point, maybe you get to the owner and you tell him, this is why I want to do this. Here's why. And you get him to sign off on it, at least to make sure that you had him sign off on it before you just do it. But other than that, the owner should really not be involved in football operations.
See, I hear people say that all the time, and I kind of disagree because as an owner, I would want to be involved. But it's because I love sports so much.
But,
so I
think you would still have a bunch of people that you trusted to do their job.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right there. I would hope that I found to hire every position. It made me the dumbest person in the room when we were sitting there, say, doing a draft or looking at free agency or whatever it might be. I would hope I hired well enough that I am the dumbest person in the room. But I would still want to be part of the conversation, I'm saying.
Well, and
I would hope that I would leave enough autonomy to my GM to make the final decision, because I do agree with you. That's the whole point of having one. Otherwise, why are you paying somebody for it? But I would still want to be able to say, if I felt the need to, like, yes or no, if like things are on the fence, and like maybe the GM is saying no, but I've got a couple scouts and an assistant coach saying, I think this is a good idea, but the GM doesn't want to do it for a reason. I as an owner would still want to be able to step in and say, actually, I like this. Do what we have to do it. But I wouldn't be micromanaging. I wouldn't have my thumb on everything to the point where, like, you're paying somebody to not, like, the Dallas Cowboys right now is such a weird situation with the way they have it set up, right? Because Jerry Jones is the end-all be-all, and he does everything. I wouldn't want to be that involved. But as an owner and a huge sports fan, like, I would love to be part of the process of setting up the team. So I'm on the fence with that whole owners should stay out of it thing.
Okay, so let's say, at least from that aspect, you have a sports background. Like David Tepper is an expert in investing in hedge funds and all that. That's his wheelhouse.
Right. I would like to think I have an eye for talent. Obviously, he does too. He just doesn't. Now, I would like to think also, I've admitted I'm wrong enough times and eaten crow enough times that if I had a couple really bad years and I was the one making all the decisions, I would completely step back and say, you try it. And if it's your fault, you know what happens.
And again,
but let's see what happens.
The owner should be advised that, really major decisions. And other than that, his voice should still be heard and he should still be in the room, or, it's his team. But he needs, you need to take a step back, let the guys that you hired do their job.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I don't see me, like, if I somehow had enough money all of a sudden to buy a team, like, I'm still going to be who I am at this point in life, I would like to think. So I'm still going to be watching all the sports. You know what I mean? Which includes college football. So
but that's,
I would
again,
be owning the team. I would be sitting there with the scouts, having conversations, watching film. Like, so I feel like I would have a right to have an opinion. You know what I mean?
And you might if you had that level of commitment, but most owners don't because they don't have that kind of time or that kind of want to, right?
They just have different priorities. That's the kicker. And that's where I'll give Jerry Jones credit in the fact of the way they run things, because I think we can agree he's pretty good at finding talent in the draft. That doesn't seem to be a huge issue for them.
His talent evaluators have been very good in the draft. The problem they have is they overpay the guys they want to keep on that
Jerry
they drafted.
falls in love, not lust or like, and that becomes an issue. But he still finds talent, correct?
They
Jerry's
don't typically
still pretty good about finding talent.
They typically can't get. They can't typically
just give
use
Jerry
free
Jones
agency.
a little bit of love, dude. Jeez Louise. Just leave it at that.
Man. He's like drafted well, put teams together well, gives you enough hope to make you keep spending your money, but they don't use everything to their advantage to go all in to win.
They've also had some really terrible luck as an outside observer. The Romo fumble with the field goal, the Des Bryant catch that was ruled not a catch.
Man, we're like freaking First Take. Somehow we found a way to talk about the Cowboys.
Yeah, it happened. So, but backing up a little bit, I would not put David Tepper and Jerry Jones in the same sentence, because what Tepper has proven thus far is that he has no idea what he's doing. So he needs to finally just step back and let whoever's running it run it. And then if they're bad still, fire him and rehire.
Former Carolina Panther linebacker Dan Morgan is now running it. And he is happy birthday! There he is. He's probably already had a few.
Oh, I've been drinking since like 9 o'clock.
We're behind. I'm trying to catch up though, Robert. I'm trying.
You're good.
We just started talking Carolina Panthers.
Okay.
We are not high on the Panthers, and we had a discussion about if they had the number 1 pick, if they would draft a quarterback. And I think we both agreed we would draft Shedeur Sanders and move on from Bryce Young if that happens.
It'd probably be a wise decision and a good move on North Carolina's part, so they become relevant again.
It's Carolina. Funny he said North Carolina because it's just Carolina Panthers, but they are in North Carolina. They are.
I have my geography right.
You're not exactly wrong.
I thought they were in Charlotte.
It's not like you're putting $1 in the jar. I would say that's a Jeopardy would have a hard time saying no to that, I think, due to their location. However, I will say this, Pinky. That's a what if they play that poorly, would you do A, B, C? I actually feel like they did the right things. They've done some decent drafting over the last couple of years. I would like to think that Bryce Young can play. He is a former Heisman Trophy winner. It's not like this dude is some like 5th round pick that they're just trying to see if he can play or not. So I believe they're going to be. They might be in that top 5 still because they might only have 4 or 5 wins maybe. So it's not going to be a great year, but I do have this weird feeling that they're going to be.
Yeah, I know the service.
Somewhat competitive. Not what we think we're going to see from Arizona competitive, but I think they're going to be more competitive than what they were last year. So I feel like you're going to see enough from those young guys because they're going to be a really young team. And Bryce Young that you're willing to give it a couple more years to see what happens with this new staff. But I think you're going to see positive things.
They got a new GM. They did hire a new coach. They got Dave Canales. Dave Canales did some good things in Seattle and then moved down to Tampa last year. And we would say he did some pretty good things in Tampa.
1 year as the OC, and they got people hyping Baker up left and right.
Absolutely. And so he took the job. When you're a 1-year OC, you want him to be a head coach. You're going to get paid some good money. I can't fault the guy for taking it, but it's one of those things like, do you really want to take the Panthers job? But sometimes when it comes calling, man, sometimes you just got to take that job, take that chance.
True. Let's be honest. We were saying, if we're being perfectly honest, we were saying the same thing about Houston and D'Amico Ryan. Like, we thought he was going to be a rising star, a hot commodity, and he was going to hit the ground running. Like, that's how we felt about him. And we were like, why? We understand you played there, but the issues that organization has, you can go almost anywhere right now, pick your poison. You're going to choose to go to Houston. I mean,
well, thankfully they got rid of that guy that was like a consultant for them that was really big in the church.
Right.
I can't remember the Easterby or
yeah.
That's I don't remember his name, but he was involved in things that he shouldn't have been involved in. And I think that definitely led to some of the decline of the Houston Texans.
What Nick Castellanos? Nick
Caserio is the GM. So he's the GM, but the guy above him had all the power.
I know, but now obviously it's him running.
Caserio's got the power now.
Right. So I like what they're doing. So similar things could possibly happen in Carolina. We don't know.
So real quickly, they did keep Ejiro Evero as defensive coordinator. With all the injuries they had last year, their defense was actually still pretty competent. So I think this guy is going to be a head coach at some point.
And they have some young talent on that defense that could.
They just ran into a lot of injuries, man.
I could see that defense healthy being in the hunt for top 10 defense in the league.
Panthers spent quite a bit of money in free agency. I think they figured out, hey, when you have a quarterback that's on the small side, the easiest way to pretty much kill a play is inside pressure. So they went out and spent a lot of money on guards.
Yeah.
They spent $100 million on Robert Hunt, and they spent a good amount of money on Damian Lewis, who played for Canales in Seattle. So he kind of knows the system. Great idea, right? Because again, if you can eliminate inside pressure, Bryce Young he's got some movement ability. He can move around in the pocket. It's just, but if a guy's right in his face before he gets a chance to really look at everything, you're already done. And that's with all of the under 6 foot quarterbacks. Like if there's pressure right in their face right away, like there's nothing they can do.
Yes. So yes, absolutely.
I think they did spend the money wisely that they spent. They got Jadeveon Clowney. They got A'Shawn Robinson. I like A'Shawn Robinson a lot. Defensive tackle from the Lions. They got Josie Jewell from the Broncos to play linebacker. He knows Evero's system. So that's a good move. Their draft was solid. Xavier Legette at wide receiver. I think we both liked his game.
Yep.
Jonathan Brooks from Texas, who we could argue was the best running back in the draft.
Not for the
If it wasn't
injury,
for
he
an
probably
injury,
would have
right?
gone. Yep.
They got a linebacker, Trevin Wallace from Kentucky, really fast sideline to sideline guy. And then they got Jatavion Sanders from Texas, gigantic tight end. Again, tight ends, you don't know what you're going to get, but I think he does have potential. He had quite a bit of touchdowns down there in Texas. So,
A lot of talk is him as a sleeper in fantasy this year going forward, especially in dynasties.
So the Panthers have, again, you could say that they're at least, I don't think they're going to be a worse team than they were last year, but that may not equate to more wins at the moment.
Exactly. Right? That I fully agree with you there. Like, may not have more wins, but they'll be more competitive. So I believe that's what's going to happen. So even if they end up in the top 5, which they legitimately still could, we'll find out when we see, when we start.
Let's be honest. They want to be in the top 5, right? Because when you're in the top 5, you get to add more premium talent.
Absolutely. And you're not competing for the Super Bowl right now, so why not? The kicker is, if that's the case, there's no way you're moving on from Bryce Young, regardless of even if Shedeur dropped to you, because there's going to be another hole you still need to fill, and you need to take that opportunity because you saw the improvement from Bryce Young.
Well,
I think too often people are trying to get Patrick Mahomes for the new term. It was, Aaron Rodgers before that, and before that was Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and so on, and John Elway and so on and so forth, right? Everybody's trying to hit on that guy, instead of realizing a lot of Super Bowls have been won by not that guy, as long as you have a really good team around him. So if you can get a Kirk Cousins, and let's be honest, Kurt has had a lot of teams around him that failed him. Now, he hasn't always played the best, but Brady didn't always play the best either, and his teams carried him when they needed to. Joe Montana's teams carried him when he didn't play the best. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl to end his career not playing his best in a team carrying him. So you can win without a prime-time, best-in-the-league quarterback, and especially not having to pay the premium of said quarterback, and spread that money around other positions. If Bryce Young shows that kind of talent, it would be refreshing almost to see a team go, that's not what we need, and go forward. I don't know if Carolina has that type of moxie, if you will, but we'll find out.
We'll find out. I am I am not high on the Panthers, but I do think they will, again, like we talked about, they're going to be better. They'll be more competitive. I do think Dave Canales can probably coach offense a little bit better than last year's coach. And
Reich has had some issues ever since he decided to leave Philly, that's for sure.
Right. Well, a lot of Reich's offense really relies around the run game, and their offense without any playmakers out there, it's hard to run the ball because teams just stack the box and dare you to throw.
Sure. What happened in Indy then?
I mean, they actually just barely missed the playoffs that year, though.
Right.
With Carson Wentz.
So what does that tell you about him as a head coach?
Or was that Matt Ryan his last year?
One team fired him and they weren't that awful and had some injuries. And the next team fired him because they decided he wasn't the right man to develop the team going forward either.
I think that was more David Tepper being impatient, though.
Maybe. I'm just saying there starts to become a pattern, where there's smoke, there's fire kind of thing.
Which,
you start to have to look and pay attention.
Why is Frank Wright not working right now? Because he's collecting whatever money David Tepper gave him. And as long as you don't sign with another team, you get the full money. It's all guaranteed.
It could just be a situation where great coordinator, not great coach. You know what I mean? Like, could just be that kind of situation with him.
I don't know, man. He went to the playoffs quite a few times with Indy on his own until it fell apart. But we could also say that Indy's O-line went way downhill, and losing Andrew Luck literally right at the end of preseason. Like he had a tough go. So he went from Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. And both of those guys were washed by the time he had them. So I don't think he was really set up for success as well, right? So
I mean, he kind of picked those guys too. You know what I'm saying? Like
but you also have to pick guys from what options you have available. They were winning games, so they weren't at the top of the draft. Like, again, when you're in that middle area of the draft, you don't have a lot of options for top quarterback talent. So you normally end up going fishing in the well of, can we get better play from this guy?
As a head coach who is an offensive mind, you're going to have quite a bit of say, I would believe, in who your quarterback's going to be. And there were options where he could have gone different directions, and he chose not to.
I mean, possibly.
He basically kept picking Nick Foles, thinking he could recreate some kind of magic, even though Nick Foles couldn't even recreate that magic anywhere else.
Oh,
Oh,
Jacksonville hates that contract. Thoughts on the Panthers, Robert?
honestly, they haven't really been any point of relevance for me. So the only thing I have to go off of was when Cam Newton was in their ear, and he still wasn't the greatest and failed. So he didn't keep his legacy going. So that's really all I got.
Robert's like, yeah, Panthers suck. Move on.
Let's go. Let's move someone on that matters.
All right. Well, sorry, Panthers fans.
They'll be good again.
Another rough one.
They're not worth talking about right now.
Ooh,
not in large capacity.
Man.
I'm a little earlier tonight.
Probably spent more time on the Panthers than we will the Saints. I will say that.
So the New Orleans Saints are next. I'm going to a Saints game, so I am kind of excited about that. Hopefully, Robert is
working on trying to go to the Saints game.
So
you're going to a Broncos game when they're playing the Saints.
No, going to a Saints game. I'm going to New Orleans.
All right.
In November, and they're playing the Falcons.
Ooh, that'll be a good game. Yeah.
Which is why I also really want to go, because I want to see my boy play.
This is the annual football trip with Andy, and
Superdome is the stadium. Gotcha.
Sonny was like, we should go to a game in New Orleans, and I was like, I've never been to New Orleans. Let's go. So, gonna go check out a game. Saints are one of the teams that's like, I'm so like, does anybody care? I don't know. They're so blah right now. There's nothing really exciting about them.
I think they have enough talent where they could win the division.
They're rebuilding.
I did say up front, I feel like all three teams, except for the Panthers, has I could argue a reason they could win the division, right?
I'm not as high on Tampa as I am the Saints.
See, I am higher on Tampa than the Saints, but the Saints do have a new offensive coordinator. Do you know who their coordinator is offhand?
I don't remember.
It's our good old friend Clint Kubiak.
Right.
Is their OC now.
Right. I think Derek Carr is kind of a Kirk Cousins light. Kamara's still there. I think they have a decent offensive line. I think they have a solid tight end in Johnson. I think Olave could have a sneaky breakout year as a true number one this year. I like Kendre Miller, I think, second year.
Kendre Miller, yeah.
Their defense is always good somehow. Cam Jordan is still going to be there.
Cam Jordan's still playing.
So
they still have Marshawn Lattimore. They're two free agents to talk about. They did pick up Chase Young on a 1-year deal.
Yes,
a prove-it deal. And then they picked up Willie Gay from the Chiefs, who's a really fast linebacker. He's not amazing, but he's fast.
Exactly. So I feel like last year they had a lot of injuries. Kamara was suspended for the first 4 games of the year.
Yeah.
So, again, it's always that if you can stay healthy thing, that war of attrition with the NFL. But I actually think they have a sneaky enough talent to make the playoffs.
So you could tell a lot last year that Carr and the receivers were not on the same page.
Just didn't look right.
Because he would get pressure and he would throw to a certain area, and hot routes were not a thing for them. He had multiple times where he's throwing to a spot and the guys weren't there. It didn't look good. I would agree. I think Derek Carr is a couple of notches below Kirk Cousins, but he's just a guy, if everything's right around him, win you games and play pretty good football. I think. I do think this is Derek Carr's last dance, though.
I can see that, especially
if he
if
has
they
a
believe
bad
in
year.
Spencer Rattler. If Spencer Rattler could really be something, then yeah, I could easily see them moving on from Carr in the offseason. So I don't disagree with you there. I do think, though, the Saints could easily finish. And again, we'll have to look at their schedule when we do end of August-ish.
We got to plan that.
But I could see them going 10-7 and being on that playoff scenario.
I feel like they're the 8, 9, 10. Like they're going to win 8, 9, or 10. Like they're right there, which means they're on the edge of the playoffs or not in the playoffs. I don't think Dennis Allen's a great coach either.
I agree with you. I agree with you there. That's always a big question mark there. We're not fans of Dennis Allen. We don't think he's a great head coach, good coordinator, that situation. Interesting to see how he performs this season. I do believe in Olave stepping up this year.
Olave had a fantastic year last year.
He had a good rookie year and a good year last year, but not like a wow year. And I think people are going to take notice this year, like outside of the New Orleans area or fantasy geeks such as ourselves. I think he's going to put his name on the map this year, and
he helped me last year. I mean, rookie year he had 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. I guess last year he had 1,100 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I think this year, if they're smart, they run the offense the way I believe they can. I think he can be in the discussion with one of the top receivers in the league. People's eyes will be open, and you'll hear a lot of people go, "Wow, how did he break out? This is a one-hit wonder kind of thing." And the people who know will be like, "No, this is who he is."
He's really good. And there was a lot of times him and Carr just weren't on the same page. So hopefully they continue to improve there.
We'll see what they do. And again, that defense is always pretty good somehow. And if they're healthy, they've got some talent on that defensive side of the ball that can be really, really scary.
And I do like their main 2 draft picks that I found was Fuaga from Oregon State, and then offensive tackle, which they need. Again, protect Carr, run the ball. And then Kool-Aid McKinstry, who at some point was like, I think pre-season last year was like the top corner.
Number one, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, he just fell off a map. And I think he's still got it in him. And I think he just needs maybe just, better supporting cast around him maybe. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but I think Kool-Aid, that's an awesome name for one. Kool-Aid's going to be all right. And,
he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Again, the Saints are just in that weird spot of I just don't think they're really great and they're not really bad either.
You don't see a lot of top end talent necessarily, but then you kind of dig a little deeper. You're like, well, Kamara healthy could finish as a top 3 running back. Olave, we think, could finish as a top 3 receiver. He does have that kind of talent potential. You've got Chase Young, who might be the best defensive player in the league if he's fully healthy. He has that kind of talent. Cam Jordan is no slouch by any means. You know what I mean? Like, you start going on the list, you're like, oh, actually, they do have some talent at the big positions. Like, what's going on here? And it's like they just can't put it together for some reason. It's odd.
Clayton, if you can hang out with us for like 20 minutes, buddy, we'll talk Bo Nix just for you. But we got to get through the NFC South first before we talk any Bo Nix.
I got to take on Bo Nix for Pinky that I didn't say earlier, and I decided to bite my tongue. And Clayton, you stick with this. I'll throw it out there for you.
Caleb, I'm going to let you pick here because there's 2 teams left, obviously. And I think I know which one you would put in second place.
Let's do a round table pick.
Who would you put in second place, Robert?
So honestly, I personally will pick the Bucks. I really do.
Let's talk about the Bucks.
So, Buccaneers, first of all, what a dark horse last year, and they should not have gotten far as they did, but they did it. Baker Mayfield is a boss, and Tampa definitely sees the value in him, and I think they're going to develop him, and it's going to be a force to reckon with. but I don't think it'll happen this year to where they'll be able to beat the Falcons. It just won't happen.
See, I actually have the Bucks as number 1.
I figured you would.
Man.
I actually figured you would.
No.
I'll love to hear why. I'll go next then, so we can hear Pinky's why for why he believes they're better than Falcons. Look, they overachieved in a lot of people's eyes last year. That's just the facts. I think Baker comes back down to earth a little bit, maybe basically the same season, only because of the talent around him. Rashad White is no slouch at running back. He's not anything special, but he's pretty solid. That offensive line is pretty solid. They have Mike Evans, who is probably the most underrated wide receiver in the league, next to Larry Fitzgerald when it comes
Hall of
to
Fame, baby. Hall of Fame.
That's not
Put
even
him
a
in.
question. The question is he all-time great? Based on his numbers, that man should be in a top 5 conversation.
I mean, can you imagine what him and Brady would have done if they were together for like 8-9 years? Like,
So there's that. Then there's Chris Godwin on the other side. They drafted Polk. They've still got Trey Palmer, who we know how I feel about him. They're loaded at wide receiver. Their defense, while it lost some pieces, is
they
still
didn't.
gonna be okay.
So they didn't draft Polk. Polk went to the Patriots. They drafted McMillan.
I'm sorry,
from
McMillan.
Washington.
Sorry, the Washington receiver who was hurt, not Polk. Got those mixed. McMillan, who a lot of people like more than Polk, but he was injured last year, so Polk got a shine.
Funny thing about McMillan, he was actually rated number 1 before the season over Odunze and Paul, or not this season, but the previous season.
Right.
He was rated above both of them, but he got hurt. And then by the time he came back this year, Polk and Odunze had taken over. Like, there just wasn't like that. There wasn't enough balls to get his way. So they could be getting a steal with McMillan.
Again, I think they got a steal with Palmer too. So they could have their 1 and 2 guys already behind Godwin and Evans when they decide to move on, right? We think they've got 4 quality receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Baker is no slouch. I've had to eat a little crow on Baker. I compared him and Kenny Pickett and said I'd pick Kenny Pickett. That was just me hating on Baker. I have no problem saying that. And that's only because I wasn't liking the way Baker was handling some things.
Don't worry. Big E's not listening right now. Don't worry. Big E's not listening.
Even if he hears it, I get it. I'll admit it. I was just hating on Baker a little bit. And I was kind of high on the fact that, and Pinky will back me up on this, I thought they should have kept Baker, the Browns.
Oh, absolutely. Totally agree there.
I just wasn't happy with the way Baker was handling some things, and I took that out on him as a evaluation, and it was wrong of me, and that was just stupid to put out there on the airwaves that Kenny Pickett was.
You learned. Right. It's fine.
Learned my lesson the hard way on that one. At least it wasn't me saying like, I don't know, some receiver is going to be better than Randy Moss, and you can't tell me otherwise. Like, it wasn't that bad. It was pretty bad, though. I think Baker has an okay season. I think losing coordinator is a big deal. Canales could be the real deal. You still have Bowles as the head coach. The defense is going to be solid. We know that. But I just feel like even though there's talent on that team, they're just going to be so-so. And I feel like Atlanta's so-so last year and had plenty of chances to be better than so-so. And because of certain decisions by the coaching staff, and then unfortunately not having a decent quarterback, we're not able to be better than so-so.
So
those aren't issues this year for Atlanta. I don't see any changes in Tampa that make me go, they're going to get better than so-so. So that's my differentiating line there, Pinky. That's where I'm differentiating the situation here.
All right. And I can't say that you're an idiot. I can't say that anything you're saying is wrong. I think the O-line is going to be better. They had a lot of injuries last year.
Sure.
Again, Ryan Jensen being basically gone, like losing him. I think they lost one of their guards. Like they had some injuries on that O-line that made it tough, which is why they had a slow start. The Bucs started slow, finished strong, right? Now, I think Baker, when protected, is a very competent quarterback.
Sure.
He's not special. He's below Kirk Cousins, I would say. But he's just a notch. But one thing I think he's got moxie, and I do think he's a leader. And I think his teammates like him. And I think that goes a long way. So I do think the Bucs, again, based on they still have quite a few players from that Super Bowl team. They still have Todd Bowles plays good defense. The question mark will be the new OC. The OC that's coming in had time at Kentucky and the Rams. He's kind of split time the last couple of years between those two organizations. So if he does have a little bit more of that Sean McVay wide open, run the ball. I mean, everybody thinks Sean McVay's finesse. He's not. Run the football and then make quick passes. But I still think
they've already said
downstairs with the family, so I'm going to sign off. I'll catch you guys later.
Oh, all right, bro.
Good to see you. Happy
Be
birthday,
good, bro.
again, my guy.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the Falcons, and then he leaves. That's fine.
Hey, I'm sorry. I may still chime in depending on how long this goes, but I gotta go do cake.
It's all good, bro. We're just
I
Go enjoy
appreciate
your
you guys.
birthday, sir. Later.
I appreciate it. I'll
just
see you
messing
guys.
with you.
What did you just say?
I don't
New
even know.
OC
New OC.
is
I just
they have already come out and said they want to move Godwin back to the slot, which is a smart decision because then you can put McMillan or Palmer, which is their natural position.
They'll put Palmer
on the outside. I look, you know me, the homer in me would like to think so because I do think the guy's crazy talented, and the homer in me, Nebraska boy, I'd like to see him get a chance to shine a little more.
Man, if you're on defense, you're looking at Mike Evans and Godwin, and Palmer's 1-on-1, and all he's got to do is win that matchup, right? So he's going to be open, man. And Baker found him quite a bit. Like he did. He had a really good year.
No slouch though. It's not like there's not talent behind him coming up. So it'll be interesting to see how Tampa plays this out because I do think Palmer is more dangerous on the outside, and they did use him a lot in the slot last year. And I don't think he had as much opportunity to shine for what he's really capable of. So if they do that and Baker plays really well, I might have to eat some crow on Tampa not being as dangerous as possible because I do feel like that offense has the potential to make them, and again, we got to look at the schedule, but I do think that offense has the potential to make them an 11-6, a 12-5 type team. Like that's how dangerous I think that offense can be because of everything we've already discussed.
Right. And I feel like the two top teams are Tampa and Atlanta. And I think you can make arguments for either. And I think the talent levels are pretty close. I just don't see Atlanta being like way above Tampa.
Agreed.
Now,
the difference to me, honestly, Pinky, is the fact that Atlanta gets a non-playoff schedule where Tampa gets a playoff schedule. And so to me, that's the deciding factor of why I think Atlanta has a better chance to win the division this year. Because I don't think they're going to be as incompetent as they were at the QB and the coaching position. And they're going to have a little bit a better road, if you will, as far as the schedule.
We can be honest. They do have the best quarterback in the division.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is the best quarterback in the division. That's a no-brainer. Right.
For sure.
They have the best running back in the division. I don't know if you'd say they have, I guess you could say they have the best tight end in the division. Theoretically. Kyle Pitts should be the best
I would like
tight end.
to think, based on where they drafted him, his potential, the talent that everybody keeps talking about, I would say it's not even a conversation, but Kyle Pitts still has to show up a little bit more for sure. But he hasn't been used in a great way either. So,
but yeah, I think to me, Kyle Pitts is T.J. Hawkinson on the Lions. They just didn't use him, it's crazy that like you swap him out for Sam Laporta, and all of a sudden Sam Laporta has like one of the best rookie years in a long time.
Yeah, you use him left and right. T.J. Hawkinson goes to the Viking. They use him left and right for whatever reason is a better fit. It doesn't make any sense, but. Pitts has a lot to prove this year for sure.
Pitts is literally like probably 15 pounds from being a wide receiver. That's his body. Like he's a wide receiver that's just big enough to be like, yeah, I'm a tight end.
But they have a really good offensive line that if they use him the right way, you use him as more of a chip blocker than an inline blocker, if you will, and then you put him out in routes, you spread him out. He can go out wide or in the slot. So there's so many things you can do with him as a talent and a threat that.
And I'll be honest, people are not thinking of Atlanta when it comes to their wide receiver core. But they have Drake London, who showed a lot last year.
I think with a competent quarterback, he's going to be really good, who could have a breakout season as well.
They picked up Tyler Boyd.
Yep.
And they picked up Darnell Mooney.
Yep. And I honestly believe with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, those two can have a Christian Kirk type renaissance in Jacksonville.
Tyler Boyd, except for last year, had gone 3 or 4 seasons with 1,000 yards every year.
Right.
People don't think about him that way, but that dude's productive.
And was it 2 years ago? Darnell Mooney was like the breakout candidate of the season.
Right. Because they didn't have anything in Chicago except for Darnell Mooney. That dude's got hands, man. He catches everything. Yep. So I think with Cousins there, yes, they like the and I do like the offensive coordinator. They got Zach Robinson, who was previously with the Bengals. And I do think that their offense will be pretty damn good and potent. I'm still not sure about Raheem Morris as a head coach. Now, I know when he got his first job, he was really young.
He was done dirty,
really
too.
young.
He was done dirty.
He was. He didn't really have much to work with there in Tampa when he was working there. He's kind of rebuilt himself. He says he's learned a lot of things. He does admit he wasn't ready for his first head coaching job. And I think that self-reflection, I think, goes a long way of being able to admit, like, you know what, I just wasn't ready for that at that moment.
Absolutely.
I do like that he was their interim coach like 2 years ago. So that was, Raheem Morris was the interim coach when Dan Quinn got fired. Interesting fact. And then they ended up hiring him. And they hired him instead of Bill Belichick. Those were like the two guys in the running. So
because they wanted to keep a hierarchy. Let's be honest about the situation. They wanted to keep a hierarchy.
Well, they didn't want to get rid of McKay.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's the way. I think Belichick unfortunately proved that he's not capable of front office work the way that needs to be done to truly win in a sustained way in the NFL today. I think that's a fair statement. And Atlanta heard what he wanted and said, we're not wanting to do that.
Again, Belichick was given A, Tom Brady. B, Tom Brady took less money all the time. That, again, I don't even know where that money went, but they were able to build. He was able to pick players and stuff that fit his system, and Tom Brady was able to make it work.
I don't think people are giving Bill Belichick enough credit for Tom Brady because he's such a brilliant defensive mind. Tom Brady doesn't become Tom Brady unless that coach is there coaching him about what to be looking for, what plays to call.
We can be honest.
Specific defenses and so on and so forth.
It took like 5 or 6 years for Tom Brady to really get to the phenomenal quarterback play that he was putting out.
So they wanted to keep the guys they had. They thought they had some true front office talent, and they didn't want to give that up for Belichick running the show because guys would have left. And I think they made a smart decision going forward, to be honest with you. So I again, between competent head coaching, competent quarterback play, and the schedule, I like the Bucks. I like Atlanta to win this division over the Bucks.
And this is to me like 1A, 1B. So I mean, I don't hate that at all. The Falcons probably should win, but I'm still, how how healthy is Kirk going to be? How's he going to look? Again, quarterbacks, Achilles, like they don't.
If he was a
It's not like a
mobile
running back
quarterback and
or.
it was 5-6 years ago, I would be concerned. But now, with the way I've seen, especially even Kevin Durant come back from an Achilles and look the way he does on a basketball court, I'm like, Kirk Cousins isn't even a mobile quarterback. That's not his game. I'm not concerned about his Achilles and what's gone on with it. I feel good about what he'll be able to provide going forward.
All right. So I think I could be talking to Atlanta. Haven't looked at their schedule. I think that really will determine. When we look at the schedules, that's usually when we come to like, okay, yep, this team's winning the division.
It will be interesting to see what we decide after we look at that schedule.
All right. Clayton, are you still with us? He might not be with us anymore. He stopped commenting. So,
it was 16 minutes ago on his last comment.
I know. And that's where I'm like, we'll move on to the next topic, or we could talk some Bo Nix for Clayton.
I'll throw out a little Bo Nix conversation for you, and then we'll move on. How about that?
Okay, let's do that.
If the Broncos somehow find themselves in a position, regardless of the way Bo Nix plays, to have the potential to draft Shedeur Sanders, do you move on?
Man, I think that's going to be completely determined by how he plays.
Let's say he plays similar to Russ did last year, but with rookie struggles.
I mean, the way Russ played last year, we still won 8 games. So
right, but I'm saying we're not winning 8 games. Broncos aren't winning 8 games that are in position to draft Shedeur Sanders. Do you, if he puts up 3,800 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions, and you have the possibility of drafting Shedeur Sanders, do you take Shedeur Sanders, or do you stay with Bo Nix?
I think they already made that decision. If they truly wanted Shedeur Sanders, we'd see they wouldn't have drafted Bo Nix, and we'd see Jarrett Stidham all year. Because that's a guaranteed number 1 pick if Jarrett Stidham's quarterback all year.
I did not ask you if the Broncos made the decision. I said, Pinky, if this was the scenario, what would you do?
Again, they won't do it.
What would you do?
Oh, man. I just think he's going to continue being better. I don't think he's going to play at a point that you can dump him. I don't think he's going to be bad.
So you would keep Bo Nix?
I'd probably keep Bo Nix and keep making because again, there's no guarantee Shedeur's better. There's no guarantee that the one thing about Shedeur, and I've watched a lot of CU games, obviously, and I think he's really damn good. The one caveat I have is he's not been coached by anybody but his dad. I'm a little worried about that. I am a little worried about his attitude. I think he's got tremendous talent. But does that tremendous talent match up with Sean Payton? Can he read and do Sean Payton's offense? I don't know.
I would dump Bo Nix. I would draft Shedeur Sanders.
You would dump Bo Nix for anybody. I know it. It's fine.
What? That's not. Don't even start with that shit. I like Bo Nix. I was hyping him up way before the draft. Don't even start with me about Bo Nix. I like Bo Nix. I just think Shedeur Sanders has a higher ceiling.
Well, here we go. The Broncos aren't going to be in position to draft Bo Nix or Shedeur Sanders, so it's not going to matter.
Oh, now I kind of hope they are.
The Broncos are going to win more than 6 games. They're going to win 6 games, which will take them out of number 1 pick consideration. Which I think we both agree that he should be the number 1 pick. Now it's possible Beck is number 1, and then Shador falls as pick or 2.
Beck goes 1. Broncos have the 6th pick. Somehow Shador slides to 6. Broncos pass. I'm going to be so frustrated, my guy. So frustrated. And it has nothing to do with Bo Nix. I like Bo Nix. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback. But if I'm looking at ceiling, which is what I always do, I like higher ceilings. It's just how I roll.
But does he have a higher ceiling in an NFL offense? I don't know. He's crazy accurate. Bo Nix is crazy accurate. Shador does have some moves. He doesn't use them very often, but he does have them. I like Shador a lot. I just that'd be a really tough one, and I would not envy a GM if he had to make that decision, because I think that is a tough decision of to dump Bo Nix and go with Shador, or keep Bo Nix and let Shador slide. Right? You know, anybody who
if Bo Nix struggles next year and that's the situation, is it a decision for you still? Like, are you still contemplating?
No. If he struggles, I don't think he's going to struggle, but if he does, that makes the decision easier. If Josh Rosen had came out and played well, Cardinals probably don't have the number 1 pick, and they don't have to make that decision. But he didn't. He played pretty bad.
He did not play well. There was not anything around him. And the coach, there were so many bad situations there. But you're right. Like, it made the decision super easy to just go ahead and be like, we're going to go with Kyler Murray.
And even without things around him, Kyler can run and make things happen and makes things a little bit easier when you can use your legs. So, like, I don't think Kyler Murray is still that kind of question mark, but when you can run, when you can use your legs, and when he's running, I don't think people give him enough credit. I think he's just maybe a step slower than Lamar, just like a step. When he's running, he is hard to deal with.
Sure.
And I think that when he was running and using that, running and throwing, he was tough to defend, man. And I think he made them better than they were because of his running ability, right? So it's a tough conversation. I've heard DNVR has had that same question posed. That'd be tough. I just don't think they're going to be a number 1 pick consideration. But could they still be in top 5? I think they could. I still think they're winning more than the line right now is 5.5. I think they're going to win more than 5.5. Like, I'm actually saying, like, when we get on old fashioned football, one of the bets I would put down is Broncos will win more than 5.5, because it's like plus 105. Like, I think that's a pretty good line. Sean Payton doesn't typically win less than 5 games. You know, it just doesn't happen. True. He finds ways to win games. Games he probably shouldn't win, right? And if you've got a competent quarterback, at least running that offense, you're going to win some games that people don't think they should win.
Well, let's be honest. If Bo Nix is really bad, he'll just throw Stidham in there. Sean Payton has proven that you don't give an F about anybody's feelings or draft status or anything of that nature. Contracts, whatever.
I just don't think he's going to be. I don't think Bo Nix is going to be bad enough to that point.
I think the conversation more interesting is if Bo Nix shows that he's solid, but the Broncos still just for whatever reason don't win games and they're in position, what would you do?
I think they would. I think they would pass, Sanders. And I think they'd go after that pass rusher from Tennessee.
Again, I didn't ask you what I think the Broncos will do, because the Broncos, again, have proven that they're inept in a lot of ways. So, look, I don't trust that GM. The ownership is still wildly unproven. The head coach still has a lot to prove in my mind. So, sitting here what the Broncos will do doesn't mean anything to me, because that doesn't mean it's the right choice. This isn't the Eagles or the 49ers or the Steelers drafting a wide receiver. You know what I mean? This isn't some kind of sure thing where you're like, yep, that's going to work out. So I just think, to me, you're in that position and you now have the possibility of drafting a guy that you think has more potential you have to go ahead and take that, especially in today's NFL where you have that 5-year window to go ahead and go out and do something with it.
It's possible. Now, some people don't think Shedeur has that potential, though, either.
There are.
Again,
Those people are kind of crazy, I think.
There's a lot of talking heads that are very down on this year's quarterback class. So,
which as a whole, I've got nothing against. To me, it's Sanders and then a drop off and a whole other list starting with Beck. I know a lot of people are starting to put Beck over Sanders, and I every time say to those
I haven't seen anybody put Shedeur over Beck.
Pinky, what's the? We'll see if you remember or not. What's my most fun ways to decide if a player is better than another player in my mind?
I got nothing for you right now.
Switch teams. Put Shedeur on Georgia, and you put Beck on Colorado, and what do you see? You think Beck puts up the same numbers Sanders did with that team? Do you think Sanders puts up the same numbers as Beck with that team? Just saying.
I mean, Sanders. And again, Beck did really well. I mean, they only lost one game last year. People forget that. They just happened to lose the championship game.
I'm not trying to say Beck is a bad quarterback. I don't think he's going to be some great NFL quarterback. I think he's a solid college quarterback. I think he's a Greg McElroy type. And I'm not trying to say it disrespectfully. But it's a guy who can put up some great college numbers with a really great team around him.
That is pretty disrespectful because McElroy didn't do shit.
Look, there's a lot of great college quarterbacks that cannot play at the next level. Plain and simple. I don't feel it's disrespectful. I just feel like that's understanding your limitations. I don't think we're ever going to see him be an elite quarterback in the NFL. I think Shedeur Sanders has that potential to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I don't think Bo Nix has the potential to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I think his ceiling is Kirk Cousin-ish.
I see him on the Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott. The rest of the team's got to be pretty good around him, but he can get to that level. I think
Dak Prescott's a lot better than you do, so I'm not going to put them in the same cat. But regardless, we're kind of on the same wavelength here, where he can be really good, possibly, but he's not ever going to be great.
He's not in the. There's only 3 guys right now that hide all warts, in my opinion. Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Mahomes. And Mahomes is levels above, Allen and Burrow. Everybody else, you really could just kind of argue Stafford, Hurts, Lamar, the team around them has to be good. They're not on a different level. So, right, and there's not many guys that are. There's not many guys at that level.
Has potential to be elite while the other guys do not. And to me, that's a deciding factor. It's hard for me to pass up on something that has that potential.
Like I said, if you are a GM and you just drafted a quarterback and you're in position, that's a tough decision. I would not want to be that GM.
And see, I would love to be that GM. I would absolutely love to be in that position. That would be awesome to me. I'm going to throw all my cards on the table. I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to do whatever I think is right to see what happens. If I lose my job, I lose my job. But
if Shedeur doesn't pan out, you lose your job. You're done, bro.
For sure. But I would love that opportunity. I think that'd be badass.
All right, man. That's it.
Onward.
That's the Broncos for now. Getting excited. I do have tickets to their opening weekend training camp. And I do have tickets for their August 16th scrimmage with the Green Bay Packers. So that should be fun. I'm excited about that. Well, where do we want to go from here? We lost Robert, so he can't talk about football.
I mean, we could, but I'm not going to sit here and make you listen to me just talk. So I'll say just a couple quick things. And I've got this pulled out to make sure I don't butcher the name because I I want to do it justice. Pinky, you're familiar with the 16-year-old playing for Spain, right?
I am not.
Oh, what?
I saw the clip you posted,
Okay,
but
so
I am not familiar with him.
anybody that's not familiar, let's get familiar a little bit. There is a 16-year-old, 16. Think about what you were doing at 16 and then listen to what I'm about to tell you, okay? There's a 16-year-old playing for Spain in the Euros right now. He scored today. His name is Lamine Yamal. He turned 17, I think, on Sunday. Regardless, he's the youngest to ever score in a Euros. But 16, 17, playing on the biggest stage that your sport has to offer, basically, outside of the World Cup, and you score a goal that helps your team advance to the finals. The finals. I think it's epic. Spain beat France today 2-1, and they are moving on. We get England and the Netherlands tomorrow. I think that game is a coin flip at this point in time. I have picked the Netherlands because of the way they're playing right now and the way that England's playing. That will probably bite me in the ass because England was the favorite to start this tournament. But I think just the way the two teams are playing, the Netherlands will win tomorrow. We get a Spain-Netherlands final. But again, 16-year-old scoring is absurd.
So is he
soccer?
Is he a sub or is he an everyday player?
No, he started.
Sorry.
Absurd. He's so good.
That's pretty impressive.
It's crazy. So Euros are going on. Tomorrow we get England and Netherlands to see who meets Spain in the finals. France finally scored a goal that wasn't an own goal from the other team or a PK or penalty kicks after regulation time. So I guess they could be happy about that, but they've looked weak all tournament. Over on the other side of the Prime Meridian, I believe it's called, equator goes around, Prime Meridian up and down. We've got the Copa America going on, and Argentina advanced to the final. So they will be there. They beat Canada tonight. We'll see who they will play, but we'll stop there, Pinky. I think that's good.
Is Canada any good?
Yeah. Not great, but good. They've had some young talent come up that is decent. They actually have, now you're going to get me on a tangent a little bit, so stop me at any point. Their head coach is the interim head coach for the U.S. soccer program, the men's team, when Berhalter got fired the first time, Jesse Marsh. The team looked really good under Jesse Marsh for the USMNT. And then they decided to go back to Berhalter. Marsh didn't want to stick around as an assistant or anything. He was offered the Canadian coaching job. He took it. Canada advanced to the knockout round in the Copa America. The USA did not. I'll leave it at that.
Weren't they supposed to decide Berhalter's fate this week, I think?
It's been discussed that his fate will be decided within the next 2 weeks. I have no hope that they'll move on from him, especially considering the names that are worth moving on from for him. Either they won't pay or they're going to pick somebody who's not worth hiring. So I don't know. I have no faith in the USSF right now, United States Soccer Federation. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Jesse Marsh is doing big things with the Canadian soccer program.
There's got to be a young gun that's better than Berhalter at this point.
There's a lot of people better than Berhalter at this point, but that involves people at the top admitting they made a terrible mistake and they're going to correct it in a big way. And that usually doesn't happen.
People don't like to admit they were wrong. That is true. That is true. Where is there? I mean, I'll talk about some WWE.
Go ahead. I'll sit back and relax for a minute. You talk a little bit, and then we can end the show.
I know you're taking a little bit of a break, which
I am
understandable.
Hiatus.
But I do think you need to get back on board. Money in the Bank was this weekend, which I think is typically one of the better small shows, right? It's not WrestleMania, it's not SummerSlam.
It's that great B movie that critics just bashed but everybody else loved. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
that cult classic, if you will. So yeah, it's a good one.
Like it's not
Historically.
WrestleMania, it's not Royal Rumble. Do they do Survivor Series anymore? Is that the whole thing?
I mean, there's a lot now, so I can't remember off the top of my head.
Right. But Money in the Bank, I like the idea that it's, basically it's a ladder match. You got to climb the ladder. You got to get the briefcase down. You can definitely see during the match that it's pretty rigged. A couple people get up that ladder pretty quick, and then all of a sudden they don't know how to, mess with the latch, or they grab the case at the bottom before they've actually gone enough steps to get up top to the thing.
Sure.
Like, there's a couple things you're just like, okay, that's probably bad acting. There's better ways to do that, but they're enjoyable. The men's one's enjoyable. The women's one was amazing. It really was, man. And the women put on a show, and if the fact that no one left there with, as Triple H said, they all had some bumps and bruises, but there was no major injuries, was amazing. Chelsea Green got dropped from the top of the ladder over the ring onto 2 tables.
Ooh.
Like, you see her hit, and it was like, oh. They kept doing the thing where they put there were so many ladders. They kept doing a thing where they put the ladder on the ropes into the ladder that was set up, to get the briefcase. There was one girl that got just dropped on it, man. Just dropped on it. And it's like, I don't care. Like, I know those ladders are a little flimsy. They're not like hardcore, like steel.
Yeah, but it's still got to be strong enough to get somebody to the top and be able to grab the briefcase. So it's not like the tables that are like
it still hurts.
Or yeah.
It still hurts when you step on something. When you got a Lego that you step on or some shit, that shit hurts.
For sure.
So I just think of like your back hitting something that it gives a little bit, but like it's still gonna hurt. I was just blown away. Those matches were great. The Bloodlines match was good. It was good. Them hyping up Solo Sikoa, I don't, except for unless you're gonna have Roman Reigns come back and beat his ass. Like,
let me know when the Bloodline's done, and I'll probably start watching again, Pinky.
Well, it's not going to be done for a while. I mean,
that was the ultimate straw that broke the camel's back for me, was that situation.
Well, it's very obvious that Roman Reigns, when he comes back, it's going to be to take back over. Solo Sikoa is now the tribal chief.
Yeah, and they learned very quickly that he can't carry a show like Roman Reigns can, so he'll have to come back as the big dog.
He'll come back and take it back from him. That's the whole storyline. I did enjoy Damian Priest won. That was a great match. That was a really good match. It was hilarious.
It's just a Bloodline light situation. So when that ends, I'll tell you what, if one of those ends, I'll think about coming back.
Well, I don't know if they're going to end, but they're going to change. They're already sowing the seeds of Damian Priest leaving Judgment Day. That's happening. It's
if
happen.
Judgment Day continues, but it's just like Balor and his cronies, and Priest leaves, I'll come back. It's the end of what we know. So the storyline has finally changed. Look, I said before, the storyline got so repetitive and so obvious without any true believability, in all honesty. Like, me, I know it's a story, it's a men's soap opera, whatever you want to call it. I'm down for that. But when the story gets so used to the point where you're like, they're just going to do it again. Oh, they're just going to tell it again. Wait, they're telling it again? Okay, they're telling it again. I'm out. I got to take a little break.
I think Priest is starting to get pushed to the top, and I think he's going to end up leaving Judgment Day. That's going to happen.
Which would be great because we've said before we think Priest on his own has a much better appeal than with the Judgment Day. So I'd be down to see what he could do on his own again.
Absolutely. I mean, Judgment Day at this point doesn't make any sense at all. So yes, I agree with you there. I do think Rhea Ripley came back last night. That was fun.
Solid.
And that should be a fun match. Her and Liv Morgan will definitely be getting together probably at SummerSlam. That'll be fun. John Cena coming out and announcing his retirement tour was fun. And it was funny because he made it sound like WrestleMania was his last match. And then he came back out and was like, wait, no. I'm going to do 30 or 40 dates next year. Like, he is literally, like, the year is going to be, like, he's going to be on a lot next year.
Yeah, that's a lot. Okay. That'll be fun to see how they handle that. I could watch that.
It's going to be fun to see, like, who they match him up with. He is on a losing streak right now, so it'll be interesting to see if they have him actually win some matches.
The L's they had him take the last couple of situations were just pathetic.
Well, it just makes you go like, well, why did you bring him back then?
Right, exactly.
Like, you can't bring him back.
Doing?
It's just
what are we doing?
So, it definitely sounds like there's going to be a CM Punk John Cena match. I would be shocked if we don't get a Rock Cena match. I think that's going to happen. The way they're pumping this up, I'd be shocked if he doesn't win number 17.
That's kind of what I'm wondering as well, but that would be a hard sell.
So I don't think he beats Cody for it. But I think Cody loses it to Rock or someone, and then Cena
beats The Rock. I could see that, and then retires and leaves it in the middle of the ring and walks away. I mean, that would be epic.
But he says he's wrestling through December. He says he's starting with Monday Night Raw on Netflix.
So he's not doing any movies next year.
He says he's still doing some things, so I don't know what that means.
Dude, there's only 52 weeks in a year, so he's doing 30 or 40 primetime events. That's pretty much a year's worth of stuff.
That's a good amount. Which I think again, he could do some filming Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, go to SmackDown, and then come back. Like, he'll make it work, but he's going to be busy. And I enjoy that about Cena. I really like his understanding of I'm about done physically. Like, I keep doing this if I could, but
he's also got that understanding of it's about the people, not me. I mean, he's the Make-A-Wish king. So The guy has a bigger view of the situation than most ever will.
And he's gotten to a great point. Like, at this point, he doesn't need to do wrestling anymore. He really doesn't.
No, he's Peacemaker. Goodness sake. Word. Well, that'll be fun. That will draw me back in, no doubt, unfortunately.
So at least the first Raw on Netflix, you got to come back for that at least, because it's going to have
I will be there for that for sure.
When they usually hit Colorado every year, when they come to Colorado, I'm going to buy tickets just in case Cena's there.
I might have to do that. My wife's been telling me she wants to get me tickets because she thinks I would have fun. And I'm like, I don't know if I would, but if I got somebody to go with, I'm down. It could be something fun, I guess.
I'm with you, bro. We'll go and have a great time, man.
Cheers.
We'll take it all in. We'll cheer. We'll this is awesome. Like, we'll just have a good time, man. And that's actually coming back to Money in the Bank as a whole, the crowd chanted that multiple times. Multiple times. That's how good it was, man. It was good. I hope we can get you back. We need to get you back because it was
one day.
It was
I didn't
really
say
good.
quit forever. I just needed a refresher. That's all. All right. Final thoughts, my good man.
Oh man, we are 2-3 weeks from training camp, buddy.
Yes, we are.
Once training camp starts, man, there's so much different things going on, going out, so much football stuff. Man, it's awesome. And then of course we get overwhelmed and we're like, can the season just start? But it definitely helps us revive our engines and get ready for the year. And the early August is when, preseason games, fantasy starts up. Like it's good, man. I need it. I need it a lot. The dead season's really getting to me.
That's fair. As we discussed, there are other sports out there. Go check them out. The Olympics are coming up in a couple weeks. We will talk about it, even though football will be going on.
I went to a soccer game.
He did.
The next day, I was watching a soccer game. I watched the Germany game, and I was blown away by how lazy Germany was in the 115th minute. Like they played a lot of soccer.
If any of you want to go deep dive and listen to some of our old stuff that wasn't even on video, it was just the audio, you will see Pinky has come a long way in his sports fandom. He has come a long way in the last 4 years. So credit to the man. I will say, while it's dead season for Pinky, and I agree to an extent because football is king, there's still a lot of other things out there. Go check them out. Enjoy them. Do not ever take advantage of missing those opportunities. Could have said that differently. Always take advantage of those opportunities you have with your family, your friends, your loved ones, your inner circle, whoever you care about. Don't let those moments go to waste. We appreciate all of you supporting us in any way. My guy, to another one. We'll see you next week. We're out. Cheers.
Let's go.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute. Work hard for the car, so that's why it's all tinted. Wait a minute.